Welcome to the Women on the Rise podcast. I'm Jen Blandos, the founder and CEO of Female Fusion. And in the podcast, we love to introduce you to the world's most incredible and interesting entrepreneurs and thought leaders that are going to help you build a thriving and profitable business. Welcome to another episode of Women on the Rise, and today I am joined by Dr. Romie Mushtaq, who is the author of the best-selling book, The Busy Brain Cure. And today we're going to talk about all things public speaking. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Romie.
Jen, it is an honor to be here with you and serve Female Fusion. And let's dig in deep because people see me speak, they see the videos, they're going to see it when I'm on your other Female Fusion podcast episode. And who here is listening and raising their hand going, oh, I can be a keynote speaker. That's been a dream of mine. And if I do my job right on this podcast, at least 70% of you are going to say no.
I think some people are going to listen to that and go, but I want to be a public speaker. I want to be a keynote speaker, Dr. Romie. Why are you saying no?
Being a professional keynote speaker means you are actually bringing in revenue from your speaking engagements. It is a B2B business. You have to build, and we're going to kind of unravel all this. You're building a revenue stream that you largely don't have control of your schedule. And you are in demand as a speaker on a company's timeline, not your own. And I think most women know how much time, team, and your treasure, your investment goes into being a professional keynote speaker as a woman. And I think when people hear that level of excellence you have to perform at, it will turn some people away.
I've known you for a couple of years. We're in the same mastermind together. And I was really surprised. Now, I've heard you speak. I've seen your TED Talks. You spoke at Female Fusion Live this week. You were exceptional. One of the things that I learned about you and you shared with me is actually the process that you have gone through to become a public speaker. Maybe you could share with people what that looks like, because it's not just rocking up and going, ta-da, I'm a public speaker, I'm a keynote speaker.
Listen, I'm all about the law of attraction and manifestation. If you're going to walk around and announce to people I'm an international keynote speaker, great. But somebody like me that's actually hired and a thought leader can see straight through that. And if I can, so can the meeting planners and the meeting professionals. Let's talk about the old paradigm that I kind of came up in, Jen, but I watched it change. There's really outdated entrepreneurial advice out there of give a TEDx talk, self-publish a book, and then people are going to be clamoring on your door to speak. If you have SEO, that is no longer the case. The TEDx environment is oversaturated because of AI and self-publishing. Unless you're traditionally published, your book is not going to move the meter. Even I'm traditionally published on the USA Today bestselling list, Amazon International bestseller list in the right categories. Even my CEO of my bureau that represents me says, you're only going to be hired to speak because I have a long history. So I want to break that myth. That no longer happens. So ask me what will.
What will?
Okay. I think especially because we're speaking to women, number one, own your thought leadership. Too many women who become entrepreneurs and want to be a professional speaker, they left a primary industry, such as I am a triple board certified doctor. I'm not seeing patients. I'm still licensed and boarded. I see women, even in Female Fusion. Yesterday, I was lecturing half the room. They are doctors, lawyers, engineers, women in tech who tell me, oh, I made a wellness deck, or I did this. One, you have to own your thought leadership. It will inform the subject matter you're speaking on, even if it isn't really related to your original industry. Because when you're being hired, and I speak at the 5-figure level, you only get hired for number one, your thought leadership. And we have an amazing module inside Female Fusion. If you're not a member, rush and sign up. I walk you through building your thought leadership.
And I think this is where people get stuck, right? And I hear this from some members and some entrepreneurs who tell me that they're keynote speakers and their thought leadership. And what I see is that it's lots of thought leadership and it's kind of like, tell me what you want me to speak about and I'll speak about
Oh,
it.
never. Ooh.
And I hear from them like, I'm so frustrated. Like I'm a keynote speaker, but I'm only getting offered like $1,000, $2,000 to speak.
I mean, that's something. Most women I meet aren't even being paid to speak.
Right.
And you don't do that. First, I was at Female Fusion Live. I came without payment because I believe so strongly in your mission and Female Fusion and you and empowering women. But I get paid to speak and my travelists get paid. So number one, that's it. Number two is there's really bad messaging out there for women entrepreneurs, especially. I call it the dance on TikTok phenomenon. You're negating your thought leadership and you're using fluffy words like, I'm a confidence coach. No. So could I give you an example of my thought leadership, how I'm introduced when a meeting planner has been told, you've got to invite Dr. Romie to speak? This is exactly how I introduce my thought leadership. It would be, hi, Jen, I'm Dr. Romie Mushtaq. Not only am I a triple board certified physician, including as a brain doctor, I'm a chief wellness officer for over 12,000 employees, hint, giving you that I have leadership experience, and the founder of the Brain Shift Institute. I help individuals and teams heal their busy brains so they can build a culture of wellness. Do you see, I gave my thought leadership there and what I do when you hire me to speak. So you know very clearly you're not hiring me to give a sales training. You heard in there that I'm a workplace wellness expert. I understand the science of healthcare, and I've had a leadership experience, so I can speak to that. And there's so many women that I met yesterday, even at your London Live event, that weren't owning that. So please go to that module and figure that out. Number one, that's what people hire, is you're going to get hired for your thought leadership.
Do you find as well, when it comes to thought leadership and people are trying to work out what that thought leadership is that they should also be thinking a bit broader of what is going to make me appealing to the audience that I'm going to be speaking to. So if I want to be speaking to corporates, if I'm an entrepreneur, what is it that I would share as an entrepreneur if I would speak to corporates? Would you slightly change that message?
That's the wrong attitude. That already tells me you don't have thought leadership and you're just making something up. So I'll give an example. There's a large speaker association in the United States. I'm no longer a member of it. There are some thought leaders in that group, but there are a lot of people that 15 years ago, when it was trendy to be a social media expert, they became a social media expert and spoke on that. Then they saw mindfulness was trending, and I was already in that space, and I watched people actually try to copy my custom written keynote information onto their websites. Now mindfulness is out and they're mental health advocates speaking on mental health. They just keep changing the topic. Sure, they're going to get hired, but they burn out. They're at a lower rate. I've stayed on my same thought leadership, but it's grown as I've gotten experience in corporate wellness consulting. So, I want you to say, you have to own your thought leadership, and quickly, and please go to the module inside Female Fusion. We talk about that is your education and life experience and credentials. Really, it is. And then your experience. The second mistake that I hear women making is, I want to be a keynote speaker because I want to inspire women with my story. Oh,
right. There's only so many stories,
melt my mascara right now. Melt my mascara right now. Like, sister, no.
Yeah.
Now, let me rephrase that. A brilliant keynote speaker knows how to weave their thought leadership. In my case, it's my data, it's my framework that we've researched with storytelling. I have paid thousands of dollars to be coached on how to put my stories together. I can tell you the same story in 20 seconds, 60 seconds, or 10 minutes, depending how much time I have on stage. That is masterful storytelling. Now, I happen to have a compelling story. It used to be more compelling, except burnout is a big topic now. My 20-second story is I became a brain doctor at a time where less than 5% of brain doctors were women. I loved my job. However, I was chronically sleep deprived. I learned firsthand chronic stress can cause physical disease. Chronic stress can kill you. It almost killed me. I ended up in life-saving surgery. And now my mission is to be here with you on the stage so not a single one of your employees dies because of this job.
Story. Memorable.
Yes. To the point.
To the point.
Less than 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And that's, you get trained. So I want to honor, we all have stories. But if you're going to go and trauma dump on the stage and other women who are like, oh, I burned out from my job. No, I'm there to move you forward. And people don't, especially in today's world of mental health, we all have life trauma. You have to heal it. You don't use the stage as therapy or as ego boosting, Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the training that you went through, and if somebody really wants to go out and be that keynote
I want
speaker.
them to, yes. If you're saying I have the time and the team and the treasure to do it, let's talk about the training, and then we're going to talk about the other elements. So I'm going to say some things that are going to be really controversial and piss people off here.
That's okay.
Okay. What I loathe about being a professional global keynote speaker as a woman is my image matters.
Yes.
And it is a known scientific, disgusting fact that you will get rated higher as a speaker, as a woman, if people like what you look like and what you wear. I'm not saying you need to be a certain size or wear a certain type of outfit. That means whenever I'm speaking, I didn't have a chance to today in London, but we will show pictures in the social media here. I pay for professional hair, makeup, stylist, clothing. You also see me in the same 3 suits all the time because they were more money than I wanted to spend. I am an Indian auntie after all. I'm like, how much is this suit? Oh, hi. Right? So number 1, your image matters. Number 2, I've been trained on storytelling. Number 3, we hired people because I'm a data researcher to tighten up messaging and branding and how that projected the messaging on stage. That person is different than the person that did my branding on my website or for my book. You hire people that look at my keynote and they help to make sure it is an optimized structure. These people followed me to paid keynote lectures, took videos so they could analyze the audience reaction with me. That is the level of excellence it takes to play at this level. There's a lot more. So 1, you get expert help. It's just kind of like, you can put up your own website and learn how to make a website on Wix or Square, but people are going to know that.
Yes.
And they're not going to pay you if you hire a professional web designer. It's the same way with speaking. So number 1, you get trained. 2, you have a clear message. I think this thing shocks everybody, Jen. My biggest keynote that I get booked for is Brain Shift for Teams, Break the Stress Success Cycle, where I talk about the busy brain. I was talking about it for 4.5 years prior to this book coming out. We were advancing the research while I was researching this book. And it's one keynote that as the research was ongoing, I would update it. I would make the stories better, the slides better, the tech better. It's one message that goes out. Now, because I'm a chief wellness officer and we had great success, that leadership talk came out. And then companies started to say, can you do something special for women? So I now make multi-6-figure and crossing 7 just on a speaking revenue arm alone on 3 keynotes. So if you're there going, I can speak on whatever you want, you're not getting hired. It's one message, one keynote.
And it's really interesting because so many people, I think, are doing that. I'll speak on anything or all of these different things and thinking because they're repeatedly giving these talks that it makes them a global keynote speaker. And it's very interesting how you speak about how you have that team around you. And it is like a business that you are analyzing, you're looking at it, you're refining. If somebody is really serious about doing that, does that mean that they should be initially looking at doing extra training, having support on delivering the speech, weaving
all
in
of
the
it,
story,
building your business? And the nice thing is 10 years ago when I realized the company started to call because I had such a unique angle. I was also outside the box at that time, one of the first out in the market talking about burnout and mindfulness before the data was even out. But that's true thought leadership when you're the first one there and you're not mimicking what other people are doing. Number 1, I really want to say that. But there's now, the great thing is globally, there are training camps and companies that you invest in. And the key is, can you heal your own busy brain so you can execute on that KPI? Most people go and pay for a weekend or 6 weeks of training and they never execute it because you see how much work it is. The second thing I really want to be real for women is, you read in my book, I don't have children. If you have young children at home, the second thing that I've heard meeting planners aghast is they'll be like, I called this woman to speak and she's like, I'm not available that day. Could you bring me in on next Friday instead? No, these are companies that spend
Right.
hundreds and thousands or millions of dollars to have their employees in a location at a meeting. You have to have an organized system. So even thought leaders who are still working as an accountant, doctor, lawyer, they may say, for the amount I'm getting speaking, it's going to take me time to travel there. You have to go in early. You have to do tech check. You have to do meet and greets. You have to be in your heels at cocktail parties to talk to people afterwards. I could make more money in my clinic or my legal practice. You need to work out that profit margin, my sisters. So that's the second thing that will take a lot of the thought leaders out of the game.
Well, it is because it's running a business.
You're running a business.
It
yeah.
is it is a
Yeah.
business, and it is making sure that when you are budgeting for that speech, that if you are, because I know you are highly paid for speaking, but then when you break it down, as you said, it's all of these other days.
The
and
cost
time
of
that
my
goes into it.
stylist, the cost of my hair and makeup, the cost of travel, the cost of my team. We have refined SOPs. We still know as a team the amount, and I'm exclusively represented by one of the global leading speakers bureaus, leading authorities now. We had to do that because we had a global book launch. Prior to that, I didn't. We needed their sales team to handle all of this. And even then, we put in somewhere between 15 to 22 hours prior to me even getting on the airplane and going and traveling. So there is a lot of work in pre-event planning, from customizing one portion of the slide deck to the pre-event calls and meetings to all the emails of contracts and logistics. And I have a head of speaking and media relations who handles that. But as a CEO of my business, I oversee it. We have speaking operations meetings every week. The second thing you need to do is the fantasy that I'm going to hire an agent or a bureau. Dr. Romie, can I be on your bureau? And they're going to do all the work for you. No, they take you on because you have so much incoming traffic. They need to help you control sales. But Jen, I do outbound sales. Just like if you're selling a product, you have to do outbound marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is the new business, right? That you are constantly having to feed that funnel.
Yeah.
How much in advance are you kind of having those conversations before you get booked? What does lead time typically
Things
look
have
like?
really changed in a post-pandemic world. I think the shortest lead time sometimes if I'm just going in to speak to a board of directors or a C-suite at an off-site retreat, at this level, I'm often called in private to do that. Maybe it's 6 to 8 weeks. Really, for these large conferences where I'm on these stages that you see the pictures and there's thousands, those are booked minimum 3 months in advance. We're recording this in 2024 right now, and we're already booking out 12 to 18 months from now. We're filling up my 2025 calendar. I am going out to new leads, but really we have, praise God, like an existing client base. And just because I post something on LinkedIn, they're not going to see it. It takes a personal email to say, Jen, you invited me to your leadership conference in 2019. Here's some great updates that have happened that I think could help your audience. Could I get 15 minutes of your time to call? Could I send you some information? And then it's a service. You can't take it personally. You are going to get rejected. I've made it all the way to the point that we've held a date on the calendar. They've told my bureau the contract is coming, and the last minute something happens. You can't take it personally. It's because they said, we don't need a wellness or leadership person. We need someone to speak on AI. And they're just fitting in slots in a program. And either you fit or you don't fit. And so you have to know how many leads we have going on at any one time and what percentage of those we expect to close. You can see it's a business.
It's a proper business, and it's a separate revenue stream of your business,
is.
but it is a
Yes.
whole separate team that
Yes.
you have running this.
Yeah.
How long have you been a public speaker for now, doing the keynote speeches?
I will say the accidental keynote speaking, and I say accidental because I had the vision, like so many women listening, like, wouldn't it be cool if I was speaking one day? Started in 2015. And it was because a article that I wrote on mindfulness was getting attention, and there wasn't a lot of thought leadership. And I was a doctor speaking on mindfulness. I had branded myself that way, and I practice it. It was accidental because I didn't have all these things prepared. And I was so thankful that another woman named Kelly Swanson saw me at a speaker showcase, and she was like, I've never seen a speaker like you. You're truly a thought leader. You have something different to say than anybody else I've ever seen. I want to help you. And she helped me like I'm helping you. She was like, let's do storytelling coaching. Let me refer you here. These are things you need. You need a professional graphic designer. By the way, that's 5 figures to pay for
Yeah.
a proper slide deck.
Yeah.
You know, that you use over and over and you tweak a little bit. You just don't go into PowerPoint or Canva and be like, oh, I'm ready to speak. No. These are slides that are projected in convention center to thousands. So she helped me put all that together. There's Speakers Academy. So that was when the first, and then that was my period to test it in 2015 and 16. Could I do this? Was I ready to step away from seeing patients? Yes. Was I ready to go into the B2B space? Yes. So we tested that revenue stream. And then I would say by 2016, we hit 6 figures in speaking. And by 2017 and 18, I knew this is a proper revenue stream. So we nailed it. We honed one message. I started to do the research. And then 2018, we added the corporate wellness consulting. And that came from speaking. So you see one revenue stream lent into the other. And when you're a keynote speaker, that's what should be happening. I remained B2B, all the busy brain chatter around me. Oh, you should do a course. You should do a book. I was like, nope, this is where my revenue is growing. Stay focused.
Right. Yeah. Because you do have all this. Well, you should do a course. You should have a membership. But all of these things are just a distraction. Like if it's working well.
The shiny entrepreneurial project syndrome. We will link to that podcast episode. Yes.
Do not go to the shiny objects.
No.
And it is shown that when we have that focus, that is really able to grow. So with people who have existing businesses and they do have this zone of genius, they have worked out that one
thought leadership.
Yeah. It does take time. So it is. So let's say, for example, somebody today says, I'm going for it. I have my thought leadership.
Yeah.
Is it's taken you roughly 9 years to go from that accidental keynote.
Gosh, yeah. Thank you for mapping that out. The accidental keynote to where I'm highly sought after, global stages and going strong and building additional revenue streams from this as well. So yeah, I would say I definitely hit my stride by 2019. I was at peak and it just continued because back then I was that out of box unique speaker when companies had heard anything. Then the mental health crisis came and I was already a chief wellness officer. So then it was adding to that thought leadership and it just keeps growing from there. So my messaging has shifted slightly, but I stayed in my zone of genius. I stayed in my thought leadership. That is the key.
No 10 topics.
No 10 topics, not at all. And when people ask, I say no. And I refer to another speaker that I know has been tested in that area.
Because a lot of people will look at that and go, oh, well, it's money. Somebody's offered me money to do this. So I'm going to
You're not a thought leader. You're not a thought leader. And the meeting planners will see through it because they have sat through thousands of speakers. The audience will hate it because they'll know you just made this up because you read somebody else's book on the busy brain and now you're going to go lecture on it. They will know you're not the original. And that will do more damage to your reputation as a speaker. So own the thought leadership and get out there and do it. And, initially, candidly, to build my speaking career, I was initially speaking for free. I was so glad one of my mindfulness teachers, Alan Cohen, who's a multiple New York Times bestselling author, told me that. But now here's what I do, Jen. When we need to test a new story inside one of my keynotes or we're testing tech, I have a lot of local companies where I live in Orlando, Florida. I can call them and say, do you need a lunch and learn? I go speak for free. Their employees love it because they know they're hearing something before no one else has. And I go in with index cards with a direct question, not what did you think of my speech? What story did you remember? What quote did you remember? What takeaway? I know what part of my speeches I'm testing, and I go in and get feedback. So you never test a speech on a big stage where you're being paid 4, 5, 6 figures to speak. That is a no-no.
That just goes to show the level of
excellence.
Excellence and detail that is required, that it's not just I'm showing up, I'm going to start doing keynotes.
Yeah, and you just speak to the room because people can tell.
Absolutely.
And,
I'm curious to hear as well, because you hear this a lot within entrepreneurial circles, you see it on YouTube videos, that people will say, write a book, and then the highly paid speaking gigs are going to come. I would love your perspective on that, because that is still prevalent and you see a lot of big name people in the space talking about that.
This is going to be, again, controversial. It's going to be an Instagram reel. And I'm going to say this: do not waste your money or time doing that. Researching this book took me years. Writing it properly took another couple of years. People know AI are writing books and you're uploading them to Amazon, and you're using a random category like control hair frizz to become #1 bestseller, and the speaking won't come. I have the data and the facts. So the CEO of leading authorities sat me down when we submitted the manuscript to HarperCollins and we had a publishing date for the US, UK, Canada, and EU. He said, Dr. Romie, I'm going to be real with you. You're going to sell this book and we're going to get speaking engagements because you already have hundreds of clients that heard you talk on this, and there's a demand for the book.
Yes.
But hitting the bestseller list, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, USA Today, which I did, which only happens with traditionally published books, does not guarantee you speaking engagements. The reverse is actually true today. You've built an audience through your keynote speaking or through social media, and they're asking you for the book. And that's what was happening. For years, people were asking, where is the book? And then I will tell you, it was its own revenue stream, candidly, Jen. And the writing and research in 2022 and the editing and then the prep to launch took a lot of my time and money. And it actually took away from my marketing, my keynote speaking. And so you have to be prepared if you're going to do a book launch well. But I'm going to tell you this. People hire me because they can watch a video of me speaking on my bureau's website, or they know the thought leadership and the message I deliver. Someone else has referred to me. Nobody is hiring me just because I'm a best-selling author.
No.
That title has not added to my thought leadership. But the fact that I have unique research. So if you're a thought leader and you have a unique message, then look, is a book even the right avenue for you? Because the book industry is completely changing and you're going to bring on the experts to discuss that. I want to say you have a unique idea. If you feel it's so crazy and someone you loved is like, girl, that's crazy. What are you talking about? And then you have a visionary in your world like Jen, a supporter in female fusion. They're like, you're a visionary, do it. If you're dancing that fine line between am I insane and am I a visionary, that is thought leadership. Get it into a book or a course or whatever. But that is not going to build your speaking business. Yeah.
So if somebody is like, listens to all of this, like, yes, Dr. Romie, this is me. I'm all in.
Yeah.
I want to do this.
I want you to, because we need more women keynote speakers.
Oh gosh, we need so many more
women speakers. It's 2024. I'm often the only woman in the lineup still.
Highly paid female speakers.
Yeah.
And women of all nationalities, backgrounds, color, experience, because that is so important as well that we have that.
Yeah, and corporate clients are looking for those experts because they know they have a diverse workforce, and you can't put the pale, male, stale thought leader up on stage over and over and over again.
So we have somebody who's ready. Mm-hmm. What would you say is the first thing that she should go out and do?
You should be a member of Female Fusion and watch my entire module on creating your thought leadership. Number 1, define your thought leadership. Number 2 is you're going to develop one keynote lecture for one target audience. So my target audience is the unapologetic, success-driven type A professional who does not want to be told to slow down. We're going to run over you with our wearable tech and our designer shoes. I mean, can you just see that audience? Yeah. Like, so when they called me to speak at Mind Valley, girl, I can't believe I'm saying this publicly. I was a little nervous. And I was like, I need to change. But I've been doing this for so long. There is a mindfulness side and the healer side to me that I got to come out of the spiritual closet and own that thought leadership with this unique audience. But guess what? There were a lot of success-driven, goal-oriented people in that audience that really resonated with this message.
Right.
So I know who I'm speaking to. Know who you're speaking to and develop the keynote for them and then test it. Those are your first 2 steps. And then get someone to help you with the messaging.
And those are big steps. That is not 1 week of work. That is months and months.
I would say each of those steps is a quarterly sprint and, work in one of Jen's group coaching sessions, and she will walk you through those quarterly sprints of developing your thought leadership as a quarterly sprint, putting together a keynote, getting the messaging for it. We're still always tweaking mine, but it's a process. And the last thing I just want to say is, my sisters, you are intelligent, you are wise, you have experience. Please cut out the fluffy language. Those cute phrases that go well on Instagram and TikTok, that is not going to get you hired to speak. Like, could I give an example?
Yes.
I'm speaking when I go home in Orlando to Florida executive women. And the title I wanted to give was something about mental health and leadership for women executives, right? That is straight and to the point for that audience. The person that was on the panel wanted to be like, what, fix a tilted crown for queens or something fluffy like that. That will not get you hired. That keeps you at the I paid for free. If you want to be in the highly paid groups, your audiences are in global corporations, global associations, conferences like this. Fluff ain't gonna cut it. They don't hire cute and fluffy. Like, keep that on your social media, and that's why I want you to get help with the brand messaging.
Thank you for saying that, because that is so important. And I feel sometimes that people are devaluing themselves by using language like that it's not showing how great you are, and people have the expectation that it's not going to be as good or as high level or as corporate because you're using that language. And as you said, it keeps the revenue down.
It does. Now, we have a unique term, brain shift, but we quantify it afterwards so you know exactly what you're hiring me for. So brain shift for women leaders, the brain science of success, brain shift for leaders, build a culture of wellness.
It makes so much sense. And I feel that now that we've gone through all of these steps, there's probably some people who have realized that it's not for them. And that's okay, right? There's no problems with speaking at conferences, on panels, or doing Q&As. That's great to be able to build your brand and build your business from that perspective.
Yes and no. If somebody asks you to be on a panel or come speak at a conference for a low dollar amount, I want you to think, what is the ROI for me there? Am I going to meet 5 people that I can do business with if you're in B2B or B2C? If you think you're going to go sit on one panel and gain a massive Instagram following, that doesn't happen. In today's world, people are fickle with their follows on LinkedIn and Instagram. I'm in audiences of thousands, and we get about maybe 10% of people to follow. Now, a good sister like Jen would be like, you're not asking them to follow you on stage, but do you know what I'm doing? I'm collecting emails. Can we talk about this?
Yeah, let's talk about that, because that is, it's important, especially if you're speaking for free.
Especially if you're speaking for free. Yeah.
You need to be able to have something in return, but something that is that you're giving something to get something back.
You are. So again, AI can create all those funnel clickbaity things. You need to offer something better than that is in alignment with your thought leadership. And what we offer is the Busy Brain Test, and we'll put a link in it so you can experience in the show notes that people are live getting their brain scored during all my lectures. They love it. I give them a solution. We tell them, put in your email, and the entire protocol that's in the book is coming to your email. So I'm even bypassing selling them the book. The meeting planners love this. A lot of speakers post-pandemic started to use the QR code, but people are tired of that. If you say, here's a QR code that takes you to my Instagram or LinkedIn or to my website, no. People will be polite just to show you they're doing it. They're not going to click and follow. Or you can get my slides, give something of value. But an email is much more profitable than an Instagram or LinkedIn follow. Truly, unless your primary market is social, selling a physical product on social media, then by all means go do that. But I think you really need to be careful of what panels or conferences you're giving your time. You have to think you're going to spend that entire day getting ready, going and networking. Really be thoughtful about your ROI.
Thoughtful about your ROI. And I just want to go back to talking about the lead magnet or the freebie that you would be offering, because that's something that we have in Female Fusion. We have a few masterclasses on that.
Great.
Because there's a lot of crappy lead magnets out there that people are like, I've just gone onto Canva and I've created something. And it's much more than that. It needs to be something that adds value, that actually would have a monetary value too, or is something like you said, that it is a quiz that links to what you're talking about. People can take it, follow along with
you're
the
getting
story.
like a health checkup that would cost you thousands to sit with me in person, and you're getting it for free in the audience. You're getting it for free, and that's been a powerful lead magnet for us of how we were marketing my book. And then candidly, we tried to sell a course off of that back end. It was one of our quarterly sprints this year because the book came out. We had parameters in place. We looked at the profit. We looked at our revenue loss. We swiped it. We were like, nope. And my email list is garnering more speaking engagements. Every time we send out a newsletter, praise God globally, and we have a separate one to our meeting professionals, that's my ROI in my newsletter, is reminding you, hey, I was in London speaking. So somebody on that list is like, oh, she goes to London to speak. We'll have her over. That's the ROI on my newsletter list.
Yeah. And so it is always thinking about that business and stop saying yes to things that don't serve you, that aren't giving you the ROI in your business.
Or just because somebody else posted on Instagram, they spoke on this panel, now you have to. That's the shiny entrepreneurial project syndrome. Does speaking make sense for your business? And really walk through that. And if you're not sure, go into one of Jen's 6-month containers where she is working with women. She will look through your strategy and say, does it make sense for your business? And then walk you through these processes we talked about today.
Keep it simple.
Yes, girl.
Keep it simple. It's so funny that by keeping it simple, it increases your revenue.
It does. It does.
Dr. Romie, every single time we speak, it is full of so much wisdom and so many valuable nuggets that we can take away, not only implement in our lives, but also in our businesses. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. My intention is that women are listening to this and that they'll step into their thought leadership because your voices are needed on global stages.
And if you are a member of Female Fusion, jump into the membership vault where you can go and grab Dr. Romie's masterclass. And if you aren't a member, you need to join so you can access that masterclass for free.
Yes.
Thanks, Dr. Romie.
You're welcome.
I don't know about you, but social media can feel pretty overwhelming sometimes as a business owner. It just feels like there is constant work that always needs to be done, which is why I have recorded for you a completely free 45-minute masterclass called Marketing Without Social Media. And inside, I share with you my tools and techniques that I use to grow Female Fusion and the other businesses that I have had. So I give you the tools, the techniques, and the frameworks to put that in place in your own business. All you need to do is head over to femalefusionnetwork.com/marketing.